Good afternoon, everybody. Guys, today we're going to watch this video. We're going to react to it. The video is from a person I've been following because of his involvement in ultra endurance sports. His name is Chadd Wright. He used to be a US Navy SEAL, and later, once he retired, he started to be more involved in the running community with some very, very good documentaries he published. One of them, I think it's called One More Mile, is about a competition they do in Arizona. It's about 250 miles of running through the slopes, the mountains. It's pretty intense, and if you haven't watched it yet, I strongly suggest that you do. But anyway, in this video, Chadd tells us about his performance nutrition protocol, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, one important change of perspective I had through the years. When I got out of college, out of university, I was very entitled, if you want. Like, I got the degrees, I know the science, and you, athletes, practitioners, don't. So you have to listen to me. Then you start working with the athletes, and you start making mistakes, and you start learning. And one of the things that I learned is that pro athletes, recreational athletes, they need to be listened, because sometimes they come up with some good ideas, and these ideas come from them practicing for hours, for days out of the year, while nerds like me, other people in academia are having a hard time proving. Now, the only thing I'm saying is 2026, Dr. Capo understood the importance of listening. With this spirit, we're going to get into this video, what I eat in a day. Optimal diet for performance. Title says performance. I will never get tired of saying that nutrition for aesthetics is very different from nutrition for performance. Performance, it doesn't matter how you look as long as you perform. Now, some people look great, but that's just a consequence of the type of training they do and the diet they do to perform. Here you can see, if you don't know him, he's Chadd Wright. It's pretty linear. As I was saying, he's into running and the biking. In order to do those sports, you cannot carry too much lean mass because you need to bring oxygen to that mass. So if you have a bodybuilder type of athletes, you'll have to fuel it with a lot of oxygen. So it's better to be leaner, not just leaner, but even lighter than ultra bulk. It's different if the training is a hybrid. So if you have a lot of weightlifting, then the body is going to be a mix between, the weightlifter and the endurance athlete.
This is how freaking winners eat, man.
What a guy. I love the confidence from Chadd Wright. He's talking about the first meal of the day, so he's definitely not an intermittent fasting guy. Breakfast, number one meal of the day for Chadd Wright. He says, essentially splits the breakfast in two parts. He has a lighter breakfast when he wakes up, and then another one once he comes back from training. And this is probably because he don't want to feel bloated, he don't want to have any GI distress while he trains, because I promise you he trains very hard. So what he's having? Carbohydrates, then he's going to add some pecan butter and honey. Let's comment on this meal. Bread, of course, carbohydrates are key for performance, so we like that. The Ezekiel bread, I believe, for people that don't live in America or people that live in America like me, don't buy Ezekiel bread. I think it's a higher fiber type of bread. So not necessarily a big fan of high fiber content before a training session, especially if it's a more endurance-based training session, because that can increase the incidence of gastrointestinal distress. But also, we got to put all this information in the context of the big picture. So we're going to see at the end of the video if this is a good choice or not. Besides that, he has honey, which is great because it's a good amount of simple carbohydrates get in your bloodstream, and that's going to fuel your performance. And he has some butter, which is essentially high fat type of food. Not a big fan of it, if you really ask me. But at the same time, if you are an endurance athlete, you need to put a lot of calories in your body, and that type of butter is definitely one way to increase your daily caloric intake. So approved, I like it.
Once I get back in from training, we're gonna eat a full breakfast.
We're seeing what he's eating before, but I always tell you guys, we cannot judge the single element. We need to put all the information in the big picture. So let's see what he eats once he comes back. Now, he's coming back from training, and he has a very noble source of protein. That's eggs. It's going to have 3 full eggs. It's going to have bacon. That's going to add some fat and protein to the equation, and rice, so more carbohydrates, more cheese. So that's going to be more fat and a little bit of protein, and butter. That's essentially just fat. Now, he's talking about the quality of food. And, as an Italian, I am a big fan of high quality food. So I never really use the cheese that he uses. I'm more of a Parmigiano Reggiano, Pecorino type of person. But again, nutrition, it's also tradition. So if in that area of the United States, they have a lot of that cheese and he grew up having that cheese and he feels great about that cheese, then in terms of the sustainability of his diet plan, that could be a good choice. I always tell my athletes, it's not about making a diet make sense from just a scientific standpoint. You also need to make the diet sustainable, because I can make you the perfect nutrition plan, but if you don't follow it and you're going to drop out of the protocol in a matter of like 2-3 weeks, it's a failure. On the other hand, if I create a plan that makes sense from a strictly science-based perspective, 80-90%, but it's super sustainable for you, that's going to be a winning plan. So,
And I'm not going to cook bacon for you guys, because if you don't know how to cook bacon, you're an idiot.
He's an internet personality, so he wants to create, a little bit of spiciness to the video. I used to be, as a matter of fact, an idiot, because in Italy we don't have a lot of bacon. I learned later in life how to cook it, and occasionally I really do enjoy it. I actually like to do the mix that he does, bacon and eggs.
With some butter, I'm going to take my eggs right here.
As the eggs to the butter that's warming up, is adding the rice like that. So he adds dry rice to the mix. Or it's cooked. I don't know. I cannot say from the video. He's doing some type of omelette, I think. Now he's mixing some cheese that's gonna melt with the eggs. In his context, a very active person, a very fit person, you will need that extra calories if you want to perform. Now, since his training definitely at a very high intensity, I believe having more carbs will be more beneficial. But at the same time, it's hard to have the same amount of calories from carbs compared to fat. Why? Because fat is more dense in calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 kilocalories. Carbohydrates have 4, so that can be challenging. Showing this mix, showing the Chadd Wright omelette. It's not an omelette, it's scrambled eggs. Bread is ready. So we have the carbs, we have definitely the protein. We're pretty high fat. Adds more fat. I told you what I think about it. But still, he's a big fan of this pecan butter. I've never been into neither that or peanut butter. Taking the honey, and he's making it rain, guys. So we have a lot of carbs here, a lot of sugar. So he's definitely hitting those protein and carbohydrate needs. In my opinion, a little too rich in fat. So after this meal, he works. He's working on his podcast, on his projects, and then it's lunchtime. Again, he's bringing up another great concept. Is like, I know I could have better lunches, but since I'm always in a hurry, I don't have the time, then I'm going to do a smoothie, which is better than nothing. So let's see the smoothie. It's going to be a banana. Okay, we got a banana, one of the staples of smoothies. Makes it very creamy. Frozen fruits, a bunch of fiber, antioxidants, sugar, avocado. So again, his choice relies on also fat for this smoothie. It gives a creamy texture for sure. Strong food. Meal replacement. So what is a meal replacement? Some supplements that have the same macronutrient of a meal. I'm not a big fan of meal replacement if used as meal replacement, meaning you're not having real food because you're having the meal replacement. In his case, as an endurance CrossFit athlete, he needs to put those calories in. And adding that mix to the smoothie as one way to do it. I said it's a supplement, but then if you zoom on the label, you can see its nutrition facts. It's considered by the FDA as a food. It has a different level of control. On the other hand, if it's a supplement, the control is much less strict. And that is a big issue for athletes, especially athletes that compete under an anti-doping agency, because the risk for tainted supplement is there. And you don't want to be that person that pops positive for Osterine, another SARM, SERM, in traces. And then if you're lucky, the case gets dismissed and you're eligible to compete, but you lost 6, 9 months of your career, even a year sometimes, or they think you're guilty, and then you lose the sponsorship, you lose the chance to compete for, say, a couple of years. It's pretty tragic. I wish the FDA did more control on the supplements, but for now, that's what we have. So if you're using a supplement, make sure it's third-party tested. USADA used to say, if you want to use a supplement with the least risk of being tainted, use an NSF certified for sports supplement. And then there are a bunch of other certifications. They're also good. But to give an example of how big this problem is, if you walk into the UFC Performance Institute, you will see a huge banner that says, only use supplements that have these symbols on the label. If they don't have it, don't take it, because it's on you if you pop positive for something. Is adding this other thing, not so powerful, looks like some type of peanut butter. It's probably more calories. One of the things I want to say about this meal replacement, it probably is pretty high in protein, and that is great because even hours after the workout, you want to keep that protein intake high to maximize recovery, muscle protein synthesis. So I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why he adds that to the mix. Probably it's carbohydrate and protein. I mean, it's showing the consistency here of the smoothie. If you like it thicker, do it thicker. If you like it more liquid, you add more water, and he loves it.
I usually eat dinner probably around sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening.
I think this is an element of American culture that is great from a performance standpoint. Why? Because having dinner early helps you to digest by the time you go to sleep. In Italy, sometimes you have dinner late, and right after you go to sleep. Once I moved to America, I incorporate this to my lifestyle. I am not regretting it. It's going full Clay Guida on the smoothie with a burp. Cheers. Salute, as we say in Italian. So we got more rice. It's talking about the preparation of the rice. We're not going to get into those details. Now it's adding more butter to the mix, just a tablespoon. It's adding something now. It gives flavor to the mix. 5 minutes.
I just leave that joker. It does what it does.
It's showing the big guns, the steak, one of American cuisine staples. Every person in America has a way to cook steak. It's like in Italy, everyone has their own way to make the pasta. So I like to just shut up and learn, because they definitely have more steaks than us. And I'm not going to say they make it better, they make it worse, but they make it different. And I like to learn the different ways of cooking meat and cooking food in general, of course. It's having a ribeye, which is a pretty fat cut, mocking the vegans and the vegetarian a little bit. I'm not going to enter into that topic because it can get pretty spicy. Okay, is adding some barbecue spices, probably a mix of garlic, pepper, salt, paprika maybe. It is a basic preparation based on what I've seen in America. Some people let the seasoning rest on the meat for the whole night. He's doing it in the moment. It's probably very busy. As he said at the beginning of the video, he's eating for function, not for taste. Smoking is not the best way you can cook your meat from a health standpoint, but it's hard not to like smoked meat. So if you're doing it, you should limit the times you smoke the meat.
Look at this dang grill. That gives your meat flavor, son. You don't got to clean these grills every time you use them. That's a bunch of bull crap.
The burnt part is the part that actually is not good from a health perspective when it comes to steaks. The struggle is so real, guys. Let's look at this. I thought it was gonna be a little more bloody, to be honest with you. It's medium rare, maybe. The rice is cooked, it's flavored. It's adding some more cheese for flavor and energy, I guess.
Don't leave the fat. Eat the fat and everything.
Don't throw away the fat. I remember as a kid, I used to do that a lot. Now I do appreciate the wholeness of the steak.
Do not eat steak with a fork. You cut it in slices like this, and you eat it with your hands. You're not going to get the same nutritional value out of this piece of meat if you try to eat it with a dang fork.
Okay, now it's been a character, I'm sure. Do I eat with my hands? Of course. Selected moments I do. I was a Boy Scout. We used to do that type of stuff all the time. Little rascals, little animals, but I miss those days, though.
Every powerful man that I've ever known eats ice cream.
You gotta love this
And for
personality.
everyone,
1 hour after dinner, he's
if you
having
don't
ice
eat
cream.
ice cream,
Damn, he's having a pretty
you
big
will not
quantity, and
reach
that's
the
more
maximum
carbs and
potential.
more fat for
I
sure.
promise you.
That's it from Chadd Wright and his diet. So overall, what can I say? Like the big thing for him right now as a young man is having enough calories to go through his day. And I think he does that pretty well. We can see this element that's common to a lot of people that consumes a lot of calories is adding foods. They're very highly caloric dense, like the cheese, the butter, the bacon. Essentially is the opposite of what the regular population, the normal population that's trying to lose weight is doing. So if you want to lose weight, you want to include a lot of foods that are very high in water content, so they don't bring too many calories in the equation, but they will make you feel full through the fibers, to the water content. On the other hand, if you're one of these freak athletes, because literally look at his documentaries, the stuff that he does, it's crazy. Like David Goggins type of, activity, then you need to increase that caloric intake. And he showed us the way he does it. Now, it's not a secret. My approach is heavily based on the Mediterranean lifestyle. So we use extra virgin olive oil. He's not using it instead of butter. A much higher content of mono and polyunsaturated fats. I like to include a lot of fish in my diet, a lot of also vegetable protein to pair the meat or the chicken with. The thing that stands out to me the most is the lack of vegetables. He has some fruits with a smoothie in the middle of the day, but I don't think that is enough. I don't know if he adheres to any protocol like the carnivore diet where he doesn't find benefit in vegetables, or if it's a matter of convenience, he doesn't want to prep the veggies. I'm not sure about that. If you are really tight with time, you don't have time to cook your veggies, but you have a diet that's similar to his, I will say winning technique is take baby spinach at least and you put it in the smoothie. I promise you, it will not alter the taste, but you will have at least a little bit of vegetables. From a performance standpoint, what can I say? If I were to be his nutritionist, I will tell him, hey, Chad, how do you feel about decreasing a little bit the fat content in favor of carbohydrates? But the good thing about people like him, as I was saying at the beginning of the video, they have been doing their research, and especially they have been doing a lot of trial and error to find out what diet works best for them. What happens when I do a consultation with even a recreational athlete that's preparing for an Ironman, you will be surprised by the amount of people, say, for example, in the hedge fund world, that also do ultra endurance type of training. And the good thing about consulting for people like them is that you can have a back and forth, and that's extremely stimulating from an intellectual perspective. I'm not God of nutrition. I'm also in a journey where I'm learning. So I do find these type of people very fascinating. And yeah, maybe one day we're going to sit at the same table and we're going to discuss nutrition. There's going to be a lot of respect, and I can bring my experience with my athletes, and he will bring his experience as a top tier operator, first as a CrossFit athlete and as an ultra endurance athlete. I will say, based on my philosophy, I would give his diet maybe a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 7. So let me know in the comment section what you think about his diet, what things you will change, or if you have been following something like that and you find it to be very fruitful from a performance standpoint. For today, that's it. I'm gonna keep doing these videos because they're having a huge success. And please, every time you watch one of these videos, keep in mind it's just commentary. There's no ego involved. I just want to share my perspective on some of the most elite athletes' routines. Thank you very much. Have a good day.